ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
Attorney General Bill Barr resigns. Who is set to take over the job next? Plus, COVID-19 vaccinations begin here in California. The healthcare workers making state history. And the traffic stop that ended with an El Cajon police officer in critical condition. Tonight, we have extensive coverage of the arrival of the vaccine. But first, this breaking news. Attorney General William Barr has resigned. In just the last hour, the president sent this tweet that says, in part, our relationship has been a very good one. He's done an outstanding job. As per letter, Bill will be leaving just before Christmas to spend the holidays with his family. Now, Mr. Trump has publicly expressed his anger about Barr's public statement earlier this month that the Justice Department had found no widespread election fraud. Deputy Attorney General Jeff Rosen will become acting Attorney General for now. And now to the coronavirus. Today, the first batch of the Pfizer vaccine arrived here in San Diego County. Vaccinations are already underway to our north in Los Angeles. Now, this glimmer of hope comes as we face a harsh reality. More than 300,000 Americans have died from this virus.
We have to be sober and mindful about the moment we are in, which is challenging and trying.
And the number of COVID-19 cases is staggering. Hospital beds are dwindling here in California, but there is cautious optimism as we begin to see California's vaccinations against the deadly virus finally roll out. Our ABC 10 News reporter Rachel Bianco shares the story of healthcare workers making state history.
A quick shot in the arm and a round of applause. Kim Taylor, now part of California history. The ER nurse at Kaiser Permanente in LA is one of the first to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Governor Gavin Newsom, LA's mayor, and other elected officials listened as she talked about the last 9 months.
Sacrificing so much of what we do and love to take care of our patients. We've been doing this while trying to take care of our own families.
California's first shipment includes roughly 327,000 vaccines. The first group to get vaccinated will be frontline healthcare workers and nursing home residents.
The help is on the way. Today's just the first step.
The governor put that first step into perspective.
We have roughly 2.5 million, 2.4 million healthcare workers. Today, we had 5 of our healthcare workers at least get the first shot of immunization.
The second dose of the vaccine expected in 3 weeks. The governor says roughly 2.1 million doses should arrive in California by the end of the year. Too late to help with the surge devastating hospitals across the state.
We are in the midst of the worst moment of this pandemic. So today is hopeful and it's reason to be optimistic, but let's be mindful of where we really are.
The governor says the positivity rate of 10.6% is nearly triple what it was just 6 weeks ago.
Today, we received as many doses in the entire state of California as there were new cases in the state of California, over 33,000.
Widespread vaccination is not expected before spring. Rachel Bianco, ABC 10 News.
And those vaccines will arrive at 24 more sites statewide tomorrow and 5 more on Wednesday. Today, Navy leaders confirmed that Naval Medical Center San Diego received its first batch of the COVID-19 vaccine. A portion of those will end up at Camp Pendleton. Essential Department of Defense workers will get the first vaccination starting tomorrow, we're told. Those include frontline medical workers, fire, and gate personnel. And about an hour ago, doctors talked about the pending arrival of the vaccine at Rady Children's Hospital. Today, the COO said that they will receive their shipment from FedEx and have already trained personnel on how to handle the doses and store them in the ultra-low freezers on site. They're also preparing for the days after those vaccinations to monitor workers for any adverse effects.
Have a very refined logistics plan, again, looking at those frontline workers that are more apt to come in contact with COVID patients or people who are under investigation. And so we're doing certain individuals within the department on a rolling basis. So potentially if there are side effects to that the whole department is not experiencing that and missing work as a result of that.
And then 3 weeks later, the workers are scheduled to get their second dose of the vaccination. We have some breaking news now from Sky 10. Want to take you overhead. This is the I-5 around Mission Bay. I think this is just south of SeaWorld Drive. It's tough to see now because the smoke has dissipated, but there was some smoke down there. We're told that there was a brush fire. Looks like firefighters do have it under control now as Sky 10 begins to fly away, but that is an area where you often see, under an overpass, where you often see a lot of homeless camps, but it looks like firefighters have now taken care of that and they are moving on. California is taking Amazon to court. Today, Attorney General Javier Becerra announced that he is asking a Sacramento County judge to force the online retail giant to comply with investigative subpoenas filed back in August. The AG wants information about COVID-19 case rates, prevention efforts, and sick policies from facilities across California.
If Amazon can next day deliver an 85-inch TV, it should be able to deliver to the Department of Justice the straightforward information we officially requested of them nearly 4 months ago.
An Amazon spokesperson told the LA Times they've been working cooperatively for months and that the claims of non-compliance don't line up with the facts in the story. An update now to the breaking news that we brought you this morning. An officer is now recovering after being dragged by a suspect's car in El Cajon. Our ABC 10 News reporter Leah Pizzetti has been following this story all day long for us. She joins us now live from the scene with the plea for information coming from the police department tonight. Leah.
Right, Steve, and the scene just cleared, but all day today, this intersection here on Washington Avenue in El Cajon was taped off as police investigated what happened. Now, they say it started when a car was parked here, which you're not supposed to stop here along this road, was blocking a driveway. They stopped to check on those drivers. We want to show you video from earlier today of this scene. So that black SUV, which was a rental car, was parked blocking a driveway with two people asleep inside. Police say when an officer tried to talk to them, the man first gave a fake ID, then tried to drive away. The officer tried to stop that driver and ultimately was dragged down the street where I'm standing right now. The officer is now in critical but stable condition. The driver left the car a couple blocks away, and police are now actively trying to find him. They say they're looking for that male driver and a woman who was with him. The El Cajon Police Department is asking anyone with information or possible leads to give them a call. That number should be on your screen right now. The El Cajon Police Department are the ones investigating this situation, and we, of course, will bring you the very latest on this investigation and the status of that officer. Once again, critical but stable condition as we know more. Reporting live in El Cajon, Leah Pizzetti, ABC 10 News.
Across the country today, the 538 electors who make up the Electoral College met to cast their ballots for president. It's a process not always well understood by most, but Maya Rodriguez spoke to two of the electors voting today.
After millions upon millions of Americans cast their ballots on Election Day, the final vote for president that really counts comes down to 538 people who make up the Electoral College. Marla Blunt Carter is one of them.
That thought of our ancestor who couldn't even write his name, signing his voter registration card at a time where really their vote didn't count, to being someone that is now voting in this electoral process, it's indescribable.
Blunt Carter is one of the three electors from Delaware. All three are Democrats because President-elect Joe Biden won his home state.
To be one of three that represents the Delaware voter that calls him their own is just huge. And then you look at the fact that the vice president-elect is a woman of color. That is doubly amazing for me.
While she was selected by Delaware Democratic Party officials to be an elector, in other states, you have to run for the privilege.
So in our long history as a country, there have been very few people that have actually served in this role.
In North Carolina, Jonathan Fletcher ran at the Republican State Convention. He'll cast his vote for President Trump, who carried the state.
It's kind of a lifelong dream. I joke that it's a short lifelong dream because I'm only 28, but it is a lifelong dream of mine.
But the Electoral College and the popular vote don't always match up. It's happened 5 times in the country's history, twice in the 21st century, in 2000 and 2016. Some say that's unfair and are calling for the Electoral College to be abolished. So how do these electors feel about it?
States like North Carolina, who are kind of middle of the pack in the electoral shuffle, it gives us a more equal standing with the rest of the country.
I understand that people think that it is far past the time where we start to look at doing this differently. But that's not the job of the electorate. That's the job of the legislators.
But for now, it's the system in place when it comes to choosing who gets to call the People's House home. In Washington, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
And earlier this afternoon, California cast its 55 electoral votes for President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And those cheers erupted in the Capitol building once those votes were cast. The ballots submitted by the states today will be counted by Congress on January 6th. In the meantime, President-elect Biden is planning to address the country tonight, sometime within the next hour. And once the ballots are in, we are standing by for that special report that could start as early as 4:30.
Early voting started today in Georgia in its 2 Senate runoff races. The results of the January 5th election will determine control of the U.S. Senate. Voting right groups are concerned because there are fewer early voting sites open now in some parts of the state compared to the general election. At least one county says it'll be opening more in the coming weeks. More than 1.2 million people have already requested absentee ballots, and more than 200,000 of them have already returned those ballots, according to data from the U.S. Elections Project.